You were looking at the exact moment a power-drunk HOA president's life was devastated. She called the police. She lied to the cops. She accused an innocent man of grand larceny over a few cardboard boxes. She thought she was going to get a quiet family kicked out of their new home. But the police officer who responded to her panicked, fraudulent 911 call was my older brother, the major crimes detective. Today, we were showing you the receipts of how the tyrant launched herself straight into financial and reputational ruin. Before we dive into the most satisfying HOA takedown you will ever witness, do me a favor. Smash that like button right now. Seriously, hit it until it glows. Subscribe for more high-stakes property drama and turn on those notifications, because this story is a roller coaster of pure justice. Let's get into it. It was a hot Saturday moving day for the Ramirez family. My parents, Maria and Ricardo, had just realized their lifelong dream of owning a home in the exclusive community of Willow Creek. The U-Haul was idling in the driveway, and Ricardo was moving the final stack of heavy-duty storage boxes from the truck to the garage. These weren't household goods. They were his tools, drills, saws, equipment vital to his construction foreman trade. That is when Eleanor Vance, the self-appointed, deeply suspicious president of the Willow Creek HOA, glided across the street. Eleanor's home sat directly across the cul-de-sac, and she viewed the neighborhood through the lens of a relentless tyrant. "Excuse me, what are you doing with those boxes?" she shrieked, her voice carrying that specific, piercing HOA timbre. Ricardo, wiping sweat from his brow, smiled politely. "Just bringing in my last few items, ma'am. My heavy tools for work." Eleanor didn't smile back. Her eyes narrowed, scanning the boxes labeled tools in bold Sharpie. "Those boxes are not regulation. Furthermore," she leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial hiss, "I've seen those boxes before. You are not moving in. You are moving out with my neighbor's property." "Where did you get these? Did you steal them from the garage sale 2 streets over?" "I'm going to need to see inside every single one of those boxes right now, Ricardo." Stunned by the instant hostility and the completely baseless theft accusation, simply replied, "Ma'am, I just bought this house. These are mine. You have absolutely no right to search my personal belongings." Eleanor's face flushed a terrifying red, and she pulled out her phone. "We'll see about that, Mr. Ramirez. The bylaws are very clear about unauthorized solicitors and suspicious activity. I am calling the authorities." Ricardo shook his head and retreated into his garage. Pulling the door down partially, figuring she'd cool off, he didn't realize he had just triggered a full-blown catastrophic HOA war. The silence outside was shattered by the unmistakable sound of approaching sirens. Eleanor Vance hadn't just called the management company. She'd dialed 911 and called in a burglary in progress. She stood at the edge of Ricardo's driveway, dramatically pointing at the garage door as 2 squad cars, lights flashing, pulled up. 2 uniformed officers, Officer Miller and Officer Chen, approached cautiously. "Sir, we need you to step outside, hands visible," Officer Miller commanded. Ricardo, confused and furious, complied. "Officers, I live here. I just moved in. This woman is making completely false accusations over my moving boxes." Eleanor seized the moment, stepping forward with tears welling up. "They're not his boxers, officer. He was lurking. He's a thief. I have a citizen's duty to protect my community from these transients." Officer Miller, taking in the scene, began the routine procedure. "Sir, we need to verify your identity and your residency. And frankly, since there's an allegation of theft, we need to inspect the contents of those boxes." Ricardo's heart sank. He frantically searched for his wallet, which was still in a box labeled Essentials. He only had the signed deed, which the officers dismissed as only proof of ownership, not personal identity. The officers were now moving toward the boxes. Eleanor Vance was practically giddy. "No ID. He's a fraud. Arrest him." Officer Chen placed a hand firmly on Ricardo's shoulder. "Sir, we're going to need you to come down to the station until we can verify your claim to this property." Ricardo was helpless, about to be put in a police car on his first day in his new home, all because of a malicious lie from a neighborhood tyrant. Just as Officer Chen started to turn Ricardo towards the patrol car, a third unmarked police car screeched to a halt. The driver's side door flew open, and a young man in civilian clothes, a crisp white polo shirt, sprinted across the lawn. "Wait, what the hell's going on here? Get your hands off my father," he roared. The young man walked directly up to Officer Miller, his eyes never leaving the officer's face. He reached into his pocket and, with one smooth motion, flipped open a leather wallet. Inside, nestled against a background of blue, was a gleaming official badge and a state-issued law enforcement photo ID. The name on the badge read, Detective Robert Ramirez. The new arrival, the very man Eleanor Vance had just dismissed as a potential criminal, was a detective with the Major Crimes Unit of the city police force, and he was Ricardo's eldest son. The air instantly froze. Officer Miller's professional demeanor evaporated. Detective Ramirez. Sir, I apologize. We had no idea. Robert didn't acknowledge the apology. He turned his laser-focused gaze onto Eleanor Vance, who had gone from triumphant red to an ashen, sickly white. This woman, Robert said, his voice now dangerously low, called 911 and reported a felony of burglary in progress against my father. She claimed he stole these boxes. Robert walked over to the stack of tools, ripped the packing tape off, and showed the contents to Officer Miller. These are commercial-grade tools, officer, not stolen property. I am informing you right now that Eleanor Vance has just committed a false report of a crime, a violation of State Penal Code $Tex 47.02, which requires arrest. Robert looked at the two patrol officers. My father is free to go. I suggest you take Ms. Vance down to the precinct for booking. Eleanor Vance squealed, No, I'm the HOA president. It was a mistake. Louder power meant nothing against the cold. Hard law. Officer Miller pulled out his cuffs. Injustice was over. The image of Eleanor Vance, the HOA president, being walked to a patrol car in handcuffs was a sight that would be talked about for a decade. The charge of false report of a crime was the first blow. The police, embarrassed, filed a detailed, scathing report. The next day, Ricardo and Robert marched down to the HOA management company with a notarized copy of the police report and a sworn statement from the patrol officers. Robert, using his professional connections, ensured the report landed directly on the desk of the HOA's legal counsel. The management company, terrified of a wrongful arrest lawsuit that would expose them to massive liability, moved with lightning speed. Within 48 hours, Eleanor Vance was served with a notice of immediate removal from the HOA board, and a letter stating the HOA would be pursuing a civil claim against her for the misappropriation of community resources. But the sweetest consequence came via the community newsletter. The management company, as part of their mandated damage control, was forced to issue a formal HOA-wide apology to Mr. and Mrs. Ricardo Ramirez for the regrettable incident orchestrated by a now former board member. The apology was printed on the front page. The public shaming was total. Eleanor's power didn't just fade, it exploded. She was toxic, a pariah, and she was now just an ordinary resident. The long-term fallout was meticulously calculated. Eleanor Vance, facing the criminal charge, took a plea deal, a hefty fine and probation. But the final devastating move was orchestrated by Robert, who leveraged the police report and the HOA's formal apology to file an anti-SLAPP lawsuit against Eleanor for harassment and defamation. The lawsuit was designed to bleed her financially. To settle the claim, Eleanor Vance had to sign an agreement that included an ironclad, legally binding clause. She was permanently banned from holding any position of power, formal or informal, within the Willow Creek Homeowners Association or any neighborhood governing body for the rest of her life.
Ow.
The final, perfectly satisfying revenge. Ricardo, now a community hero, decided to run for the vacant HOA president position. He ran unopposed. On his first day in office, his first act was proposing sweeping reform for enforcement policy. His second act was approving a community improvement project. A small, meticulously landscaped park on the corner, directly across from Eleanor Vance's house, with a commemorative plaque that subtly, but unmistakably, thanked Detective Robert Ramirez for his community service. The final nail was driven, and the Ramirez family achieved total, complete, and utterly satisfying victory. Can you believe that? A moving box, a fraudulent 911 call, and a simple police badge completely dismantling a multi-year reign of HOA terror? That, my friends, is pure high-octane justice. If this story made your blood pressure spike and then immediately drop with satisfaction, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments, what was the single most shocking moment of this entire saga? Was it the handcuffs? Was it the son's badge? Or was it the permanent ban? Comment below. And Dan T, forget to hit the notification bell so you Dan T miss our next chapter of property line warfare.